Gonzalo Leon has been charged with murder.
Julian Guzman had been ringing doorbells in East Houston Saturday, a prank known as ding-dong ditching. According to police, a witness says the suspect came out of the door, ran out into the street, and was firing down the road. This is not the first time the prank has turned deadly. In 2023, a California man was convicted of murder for killing 3 teen boys by intentionally ramming their car after they ran as a prank. And in May, a Virginia man was charged with second-degree murder for shooting an 18-year-old. I'm Julie Walker.
OpenAI and Meta making changes to their chatbots. OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, will introduce new controls for parents to link their accounts to their teen's account and receive notifications if their teen is in distress. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
We all make mistakes. Well, maybe not you, but I know that I do. Those of us who make mistakes are usually quick to correct them, even if it makes us, me, not you, look stupid. So here comes leftist actress Rosie O'Donnell. Right after that deadly shooting at that school Catholic mass, right after the news broke, Rosie jumped on social media, calling out the shooter as a white Republican MAGA person. Later, she realized she was wrong. The shooter was not a Trump supporter, and in fact was a transgender. And then she wrote, I assume, like most shooters, they follow a standard MO. You know, NRA-loving kind of gun people. The NRA is a terrorist organization. That's her apology. You willing to accept it? I'm not. It is that kind of propaganda that breeds hate and fear. But then again, that's typical for leftists. Never, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. You can always apologize, right? But of course, apologies always get lost behind the opening lie.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
In all these years that Wellington Environmental has been my sponsor, I've never mentioned their duct cleaning services. Allergy season is here, and Wellington crews clean air ducts daily in homes and commercial buildings, also cleaning air handling units and diffusers in commercial facilities. Why? Well, because people will see black dirt and mold on the vents, or they are actually suffering from allergies. Don't be fooled by low-cost duct cleaning providers saying they charge only per vent, because once they get on site, the price will skyrocket. Wellington does not do this, never has. Wellington will give you an estimate, and you say Larry Connors, and immediately you get a 20% discount. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 314-644-4930. Make your home and business better, safer with Wellington. Be well with Wellington.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my own saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences, gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. I can't look at hobbles and I can't stay San Francisco. Don't fence me in.
Well,
Don't fence me in.
good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report. This is Wednesday. The week is just chugging right along, people. It's Common Sense Radio, and it's the 3 Martini Luncheon. Really happy to be with all of you, Ashton over there. And so, yeah, we're kind of on the Stephen Moore hunt. This is what normally happens: is you get him scheduled, and then you spend the rest of the show hunting him down, which is he's just an elusive little character, you know. But he'll be with us in short order, we hope, and we'll see. And that's how things are going to go. And Rick Poe going to be in as well. Also have and I'll deal with this a little later on. And you know, I actually opened the phone lines for this because I don't know what your thoughts are on this idea. Because so the anti-Trump conservatives, and that's what they are. I mean, they kind of always couch everything in this idea that somehow, well, you know, if we allow President Trump to go into Chicago, what's to keep a Democrat administration from going in and taking our guns? It's like, that's the stupidest argument that I have ever heard, because it would never happen. And it's apples and oranges. So we'll be dealing with that at length, because and the usual suspects are the ones who are always making those arguments. Because usually, like with the left, you know, anything Trump does, they hate. With the people on the right, who are the anti-Trump salon Republican right, they actually hate everything Trump is doing, but they have to couch it in some kind of navel-gazing type of philosophical argument that they just basically make up and act like they're just strict constitutional adherents and everything else. I mean, by now you guys know the game, right? I mean, you know the usual people who show up on television and, like Jonah Goldberg or whatever, show up on TV and, you know, they're making these arguments, and they're trying so hard to not be on Trump's side. Trump's doing all these great things. They know it, so they have to kind of nitpick on these kinds of things. And that one about the taking our guns away is a real nitpicker, let me tell you. But I want to get into something quickly fun here, and then also pretty dreadful. So this is so great. This is such a great idea. And I love the fact that President Trump has so many great and creative people who are working for him. We saw that during the campaign when President Trump was doing all these gimmicky things, which were really great things. And it's so funny because remember when Dukakis put on the helmet? This was during the G.W. Bush race. And Dukakis put on this tank helmet, you know, you wear when you're driving a tank or riding in a tank or whatever. And it was probably one of the things that cost him the election, among many other things. There's a great documentary about the whole thing, about how HW, they wound up actually realizing that HW was a war hero. So like, oh, maybe we should talk about that. It's like, no kidding. So they finally started talking about that. And in order to kind of water down a little bit, Dukakis decided he was going to dress up like an army tank man and ride around with these. You guys remember it if you're old enough. And it was really such a humiliating thing. And he was the joke of a generation. And so but you can imagine that President Trump, for some reason, I don't know how he does it. I really don't know the intricacies of things like this. But you'd imagine, like, if anybody else put on like a garbage truck vest or whatever else, or even a McDonald's apron, they would look so awkward and so crazy that half the time you'd probably make fun of them. But instead, President Trump does it, and for some reason, it's becomes him. I mean, and this is a guy who never doesn't wear a tie. Sorry about the double negative. But this is a guy who is always in a suit. So, I mean, I just, like, for instance, you've seen the things where Bill Clinton and Hillary back in the day, right, when she was running, and they'd be flipping hamburgers at a grill, right? And, of course, they're holding the spatulas like a hand grenade. You could tell they've never grilled anything in their lifetime, right? But and President Trump is smart enough. He doesn't even bother doing it because I readily admit I don't make hamburgers. I don't grill hamburgers. And if there's anything grilled, it's grilled for me. And that's how it rolls. I'm not going to pretend that somehow I grill hamburgers. Kind of like when Chuck Schumer did it, where he, had the cheese on the raw hamburger. It's like you can tell these guys never do it. But President Trump is kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't dare grill. And that's how it goes. It's kind of when he said, I'm not going to have a dog. Can you imagine me running a dog around? And we're like, actually, no, we cannot. He's like, that's not me. So it doesn't make me more human or more this or more that to have a dog. So anyway, all these little things President Trump does, and he's got a lot of people behind him, especially the one who convinced him, hey, because he after the dump truck or the garbage truck thing, he had a rally. And basically he did the garbage truck thing and then went to his people and said, when can I put my suit coat back on? And they said, hey, don't put it back on. Just wear the vest out there. And he's like, I can't do that. I wear a coat. And so he decided to wear the vest out onto the stage and give his speech and everything else with that garbage truck vest on. It was perfect. But so you have to have kind of a willing participant. So somebody yesterday, yeah, Phil, he pulls it off. I don't know how he does it, but he does, to the point where even the left can't do it. So somebody said, and this is where I think, there are big thinkers in the Trump administration, and then there are the smaller thinkers in the Trump administration, and they're equally important. So one of them said, hey, you know what we ought to do? So the White House has a LinkedIn profile. So it's just the White House LinkedIn. So the White House, and I'm surprised they didn't. Julie's like, I wouldn't eat anything those people cooked anyway. Yeah, of course not. So the White House said, you know what we should do is we should change the profile picture to Donald Trump. And now you guys know what that means, right? That means, I don't know, LinkedIn's kind of weird. I should probably go on there more often. There are a lot of people who are on there all the time. It's like the business people Facebook thing. And usually it's a lot of self-congratulatory stuff, and maybe that's what it's for. That's all good. But it's gotten a lot bigger than it used to be. But it's still a place. I mean, it's still a thing. It's kind of like AI. People who ignore LinkedIn will ignore LinkedIn at their peril. But unfortunately, I just don't post a lot on it. I don't do a lot on it, whatever. I probably should. But anyway, so what happens is when you have your, if you worked for the White House at one point, you'd put that on there, on your resume, on your job, previous jobs and all that kind of thing. So anybody who worked for Joe Biden or anybody else now has Trump's picture on their LinkedIn page. So all these people who work for Biden, like, yeah, I worked for the White House in 2022, and it's Trump's picture that is shown, not the White House. And it is the best thing. Try it. Go on LinkedIn and look up some people who used to work for the Biden administration or any Republican hack who, once worked for President Trump in 2017 or whatever it was. See what that says. And Trump's all over LinkedIn profiles now. I mean, I think it's his mugshot. Let me see. Yeah. It's actually the portraiture of his mugshot. So it's all over the place. I mean, these guys know so well how to do this and how to mess around with people. And here's what the quote is. If you worked for the White House in the past and it's on your profile, people see Trump's face. White House spokesperson Steve Chung says, "That's the point, dummy." And liberals are going crazy all over Facebook because all over LinkedIn and X and everything else, because they're like, we can't do that. It's like, yeah, you can. So here's an example. So you've got a guy who is Jeremy Edwards, and he at one point worked for the White House. You also have a person who spokesperson and assistant press secretary, October 23 through January 2025, and there's Trump's picture. It's just the greatest thing. And these people have such a great sense of humor, and they really know how to drive people batty. And it's fantastic. But that's a great example of that. So here's all the Biden-Harris administration alumni are now having to, let's see, here's one. Biden-Harris climate leader. That person has Trump's picture right there next to climate leader. This is unbelievable. And everybody is now complaining. Here's the other one. Barack Obama. This is funny. This is the greatest troll of all time. Barack Obama has a LinkedIn page. And under experience, it says President of the United States of America, the White House, January 9 through January 20, 2017. And Trump's picture is there. So you get the idea. We're having fun. Not a day goes by that there's not something new and wonderful. All right. The so-called conservatives, the pearl-clutching constitutionalists, are trying to water down President Trump's efforts to resolve crime in our cities by using the National Guard. And so now they, too, are starting to tell ghost stories. That's the thing I've been talking about, is that's what these are. They tell ghost stories to each other just to kind of scare each other into, I guess, comfort, or I don't know what it is. But we got one example of that. I want to give it to you so you don't buy it in the future. This is Common Sense Radio. Happy Wednesday to all of you. The 3 Martini Lunch on News Talk STL.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, STL Bath and Renovation. This is how it goes. There are a lot of people. Sometimes it's because you're wanting to sell your home and get it in order, and it probably needs updating and all that kind of stuff. But some of it's because you're just tired of cleaning grout, or just tired of having the bathroom that was in your house when you bought it 25 years ago, or 20 years ago, or whatever. So it's now time for Rob Very to enter into your life. And whether it's man-made culture stone or natural stone, Rob and his team providing a very low-maintenance and grout-free option for your next bathroom project. So the grout-free option's great, because what happens is people don't want to clean grout. And so guess what happens? People don't clean grout. So what happens is your grout gets dirty. Then it looks ugly. And then you finally do have to clean it. But for a while there, it's dirty, it's ugly, and you're just not doing anything about it. And so that's the problem. So get grout out of your life altogether with a great bath and renovation from STL Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. You can either just get your whole thing done, whatever, renovated, gutted, you name it, or just even if it's something you need repainted or whatever, then make sure that you get a hold of Rob Very, a longtime supporter of free, common sense, conservative radio and the Allman brand. So let them know that means something to you when you're choosing who to get to renovate your bath and your bathroom. STLBR.com. That's STLBR.com.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Attention all gun enthusiasts. Don't miss the big Lincoln County Gun Show, September 5th through 7th at the Knights of Columbus Hall in Troy, Missouri. With over 450 tables of pistols, handguns, rifles, long guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. The fun starts Friday, September 5th at 4 and continues all weekend. Admission is just $10 and good for the entire weekend. Kids 12 and under get in free with discounts for veterans and first responders. The big Lincoln County Gun Show at the Troy, Missouri KC Hall the weekend of September 5th. More info at bkpromotions.us.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
and listen anytime,
Love the News Talk STL app.
anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you and Ashlyn right over there, and you're in the right place for Common Sense Radio, 101.9 and 94.1.
We steal the molecules from the dead. We liberate inanimate objects.
So, we already know what the left does in terms of their hatred and all that other mother jazz, you know. They embrace murderers and rapists and criminals, evil people, bad ideas. Just because President Trump is against them, so they would surround themselves with Satan if President Trump declared war on Satan. How dare you? We love Satan. That would, you know, would it even get individuals to so easily attack thoughts and prayers? You've pretty much, you know, won that whole thing. With the conservatives and the Republicans and the so-called libertarians and all those people who have been defeated in their anti-Trumpism, they come up with more what they think are, you know, philosophical responses to what President Trump is doing. So we call them salon Republicans for a reason, because they sit around and twirl their hair and talk amongst each other and maybe even take a little snuff. And they've got like a painted on mole on their face and powdered wigs, and they sit around and talk about how lofty and amazing they are, because they're like the original Republicans. Even though some of them didn't even have their driver's license during Ronald Reagan, they're experts on Ronald Reagan, you know. Well, Ronald Reagan, he never would do tariffs. I mean, I'm sorry, you mean the guy who taxed clothespins? That guy? And who taxed the rice rockets coming over here so he could save Harley Davidson? You mean that guy? Oh, I don't know. He never did. You know, it's like, yeah, You wouldn't know Reagan if his casket popped open and he swung over to your crib. So anyway, these guys are all like to talk about, yeah, but what if, yeah. And really what they did, they never supported Trump from the beginning. So they're always like, I don't know. Well, there are some It's like, gotcha. So enter into this phase, and we were already dealing with the tariff thing. President Trump is going to win that in the Supreme Court. And it's not going to be a question of the power of the legislature to tax. That's not what this is about. You do realize the Constitution allows the federal government to regulate commerce. And that can come through the executive branch. It's going to be a no-brainer for the Supreme Court. I might be wrong, but these guys are all bringing up this idea that somehow it's the legislature that if you don't know anything about separate but equal powers, it's in the Constitution there. So there's no way that the Congress is the sole power to impose tariffs. It's bull crappery. And there's no legal argument to support that. It's already been done. Tariffs have already been done. Ronald Reagan did them. In fact, Ronald Reagan was a tariff addict, and he's considered the king of conservatism. So Ronald Reagan did it, and he went unmolested by any court in the land on that. He continued to do it. Now, fast forward to the situation going on where President Trump says, "Yeah, I'm going to go into Illinois, to Chicago. I'm going to do all this stuff, and this is how it's going to go. And I'm going to go into other cities if I have to, but I'm going to go into these cities." And of course, Pritzker is asked, whether or not he should go in. He was.
You have leaders
and he's like, I'm going to fight it. We're going to do this because Pritzker and the mayor of Chicago would rather see their citizens get murdered than have Trump get a win. That's really what this is all about. And much like Mayor Bowser embraced this concept of helping federal law enforcement and aiding, and she also issued an executive order saying, "Hey, I want you people locally to support your federal troops." That's how it's going to go. And Pritzker's losing this even on MSNBC. I mean, even dolts like Morning Joe is saying, Pritzker ought to kind of give this one up here.
That see this, as you say, we've been reading about this for years now. Every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, "Oh, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers." I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, and I know you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my. You can do that in D.C. You can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. These are the most dangerous parts of my state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership that's constitutional, that respects the sort of balance of federalism between the federal government and the state government. And let's work together.
Yeah. So idiots making sense for once. I mean, so, even though he's an idiot, he's still making sense. And you might as well listen to him. It's Morning Joe. So Pritzker's still not going to be part of it. Pritzker's never going to give in on this. And the mayor won't either because their pride is getting in the way of everything, and they're going to let their citizens get slaughtered without doing anything about it. Because incidentally, on top of refusing and fighting President Trump's efforts to resolve crime in Chicago, they're also simultaneously not doing anything about it themselves. It'd be different if, hey, we already called in the Illinois National Guard ourselves, or we called in whatever, and we've upped patrols in these areas. Let's see if this works before you have to come in. They're just like, no, we're not going to help you. You're not coming in. And no, we're not doing anything about it ourselves. That's a pretty losing proposition. So now enter in these salon conservatives, these people who navel gaze about everything Trump does. And they couch the fact that they didn't support President Trump and have basically been humiliated for the past 10 years and wrong all the time and completely running against the flow of history, who continue to babble on about these things by comparing apples and oranges to make themselves sound smarter about the Constitution and about this and about that. And so what they do, and this is kind of a new concept, they tell what we're calling ghost stories now. So, you've got a bunch of liberals talking about, well, if this happens, then that could happen. And man, imagine if President Trump were doing this back then. We would be a dictatorship. We would be, we'd all be in prison in cages. They tell each other these stories to scare each other. Jonah Goldberg is probably one of the more insufferable never Trump conservocrats who now kind of is appearing back on television. For a while there, he was so ridiculous and so anti-Trump, he had no credibility whatsoever. Now, people like Jonah Goldberg are starting to kind of sneak back into the fray. Jonah Goldberg is a G.W. Bush warmongering Republican, and he pretends he's a Reaganite and all this nonsense, but he's not. And so he is accepted on CNN to try to tell this ghost story about, well, if Trump can do this, it won't be long until your guns are going to be taken away, Republicans and conservatives.
I'm all for crime reduction, but the conservatives who are celebrating this, you listen to the mayor of Chicago talk about the gun crisis in America. Well, what is to stop, given the precedents that Donald Trump is setting, what is to stop a Democratic, a Governor Pritzker, a Governor Newsom to say, we have a gun crisis in America, just as legitimate on the facts arguments as a crime crisis, and say, we're going to send the National Guard into states to go get their guns.
This is the stupidest argument one could ever make, and I'm playing this so that you can hear just how stupid and uneducated it sounds, so that if you are possibly thinking of using this argument, I am begging you to save your reputation and credibility by never letting these kinds of words in that structure come out of your mouth. Because you do understand the difference between going into the streets and having a presence to resolve crime and going to people's houses and taking their guns. Like Jonah Goldberg can't be this stupid to think that he could say this on national television and not have 90% of the nation, even if you're not even educated in constitutional principles, even if you've never read a newspaper, you hear that argument and you immediately know it really sounds stupid. So again, just digest this. The difference between sending in troops to solidify and be used as a peacekeeping force in the streets of a crime-ridden area, and the use of troops to go door to door and take people's guns. So to stand on a street corner as a National Guardsman, you don't need a warrant. To go into someone's home, and by the way, first of all, and you guys all know this because you're gun owners, the military will never take my guns away. There will never be a situation where my guns are taken away from me, unless, of course, I'm a criminal, or I've used a gun, and they're looking for a gun used in a criminal act and I'm associated with it. But you know what I'm talking about. But there's never going to be a day, ever, in our world, where there's a uniformed member of the military coming to my house and taking my guns. That will never happen. So that will it will never happen. So yeah, Amy's like, I don't have any. It's like, yeah, you're not coming into my house. I mean, you do realize that when the British government quartered troops in our homes, that was one of maybe like 3 reasons why we wanted to kill British people and British soldiers and chop the head off the king. So back in the day, it didn't take much for the revolutionaries to take up arms against their government. And one of them was the quartering of troops in people's houses. That, the stamp tax, and the tea tax. And guess what? The income tax didn't even bother the colonists because it was like 3%. Anyway, so this argument is so dumb. And the thing that Jonah Goldberg thinks is that you're stupid enough to think that there's any comparison to these two situations. And what he's trying to do is menace you because, oh, you talk tough about your guns, but what happens if a Biden administration comes to try to take your guns? I shoot them. That's what happens. I mean, you know, you're not going to really shoot through a door, but you know what I mean. You're not taking my guns without shooting me.
This. I'm all for crime reduction, but the conservatives who are celebrating this, you listen to the mayor of Chicago talk about the gun crisis in America. Well, what is the stop, given the precedents that Donald Trump is setting? What is to stop a Democratic, a Governor Pritzker, a Governor Newsom to say, you know, we have a gun crisis in America, just as legitimate on the facts arguments as a crime crisis, and say we're going to send the National Guard into states to go get their guns? There have to be standards here. The reason,
this is so uneducated. Hey, Jonah Goldberg, take your rep tie and get off the set at CNN. It's crazy. Well, we're going to go down to Key West, Florida at about 1 o'clock and talk to our business guru, Rick Pogue. Because speaking of tariffs, there are people who are saying now that things are costing more and all this kind of stuff. We're gonna see about that. And we're going to revisit the President Trump is dead thing. Because Stephen Colbert had to almost scold his audience for being disappointed that President Trump isn't dead. Crazy, huh? This is Common Sense Radio.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Just talking to Craig the other day because I am going to have my Patriot HVAC guys over to the house because I want to make sure my furnace is going to be working. I know usually, obviously in St. Louis, it doesn't really get cold. I think let's see how it goes. It's Halloween, it rains, and then it's 40 degrees in St. Louis. Okay, gotcha. Right after Halloween, everything changes. All the leaves fall at once, and that's how it goes. But by November, you don't want to be caught because you're going to turn your heater on, and if it's not working or working efficiently, then you're wasting money, and you're also freezing at the same time. So here's the deal. You need to get a hold of them. They'll give you a great deal on your fall checkup, so to speak. And certainly, if you have any problems continuing on with your air conditioner, whatever, like I have, I call Craig and Sean. They're over to the house immediately. They'll do that for you, too. It's not just me because they're not just there because fast because of me. They're not these 2-week out guys. I mean, they're busy, but they have enough people because they respect you enough to have enough people staffing and everything else to take care of you. So if you need anything new, they certainly can set you up on all of that. And sometimes it's just a little part, like it was with my cooling unit on the first floor, went out. Sean found the dastardly part, and he had a new one in his truck and popped it in, and we were all cool again. So call Patriot HVAC STL.com. That's the website. Call Patriot HVAC STL.com. Strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio.
A legendary weekend is coming to the Lou. Don't miss the Stiefel Charity Classic presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th at Norwood Hills Country Club. Watch PGA Tour champions compete and enjoy a live performance by music sensation OAR at Friday's community concert presented by CarShield. Tickets start at just $20. Kids, military, veterans, and first responders get in free. Get your tickets today at StiefelCharityClassic.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Oh, yeah. I'm already hungry, and I haven't even talked about Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill yet. I encourage you, if you are looking for a place still to have your lunch, or maybe for a place to have your happy hour, or for that matter, your dinner, hey, let's go out for dinner. It's Wednesday night. What the heck? Well, Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill is really your place. Harry Parker is a longtime friend of mine. You can go to GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com and find out where their food truck might be. That's sometimes as we head towards the weekend, it's out and about at office parks or whatever it happens to be, and you can catch up with it and just get something off the food truck, like the great, well-known, world-famous fish tacos, or go in and sit down in the confines of these beautiful restaurants in Edwardsville, in Creve Coeur, as well as Old Towns, as well as St. Peter's. And man, it's gorgeous. He's got these great aquariums and all kinds of stuff that's vintage New Orleans style deco, and he's got music playing. Pennsylvania Slim sometimes is right there in Creve Coeur, oftentimes, sometimes in St. Peter's, whatever. And you just hang out, have a hurricane, have some of the world famous Nolan style wings as your appetizer, have some crawfish, whatever it happens to be. Man, it is great. And Harry Parker has brought all his recipes from his fine upbringing there in New Orleans. And so they make their own sauces. They make their own spices and things like that as well. And the fish tacos are amazing. Those are one of my favorites, with the mahi-mahi one. You can get everything, or the redfish, whatever. You can get it blackened. You can get it dusted. You can get it whatever, fried, you name it. It is absolutely delicious. I love these things. And if I keep talking, I'm going to leave and just have Ashlyn do the show, because I'm going to go right over to Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com.
Colombo and Company.
The special legislative session for redistricting and IP reform in Missouri gets underway Wednesday. We'll talk about it with Rodney Boyd, plus Danny Define and Closest Cabinet.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Call me a joker, call me a fool. Right at this moment, I'm totally cool. Clear as a crystal, sharp as a knife. I feel like I'm in the prime.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, super happy to be with you. I'm going to check in on that special session. Governor Keogh did an odd thing that kind of freaked everybody out. That was the the rescinding the nominations of these people on the police board. But it was really, I think it was really just a tactical thing because it's the Senate that has to confirm them and all that kind of stuff. And he didn't want to take any attention away from the special session. And so it would have to be their obligation. I'll ask Tim Jones more about that later on. But yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. It did kind of surprise people. It's like, what happened? Is he? They're all going to come back. So, Billy Joel, I like him because he keeps his mouth shut, and he also likes the police. I remember. And when was this? It was during the time, I can't remember the name of that police officer in St. Louis. But remember that whole thing, and there were all these riots and stuff like that? It was right after the Black Lives Matter bull crappery and the George Floyd stuff. I think it was around 2015, maybe. Because there was the whole Ferguson thing, and then there was the follow-up to that other police officer. I can't remember what it was. And so Billy Joel, though, came to Busch Stadium for this concert, and we all went. It was a great concert, by the way. But Billy Joel had some balls. He had the NYPD, like he had a coffee mug with the NYPD on it. And also, I think he had something like Fire Department of New York, FDNY. So he's a cool dude, man, I think. And never gets out there and crabs about Trump or does any of this nonsense. Yeah, it was a good show at Busch Stadium, Phil. I don't know whether that's the one you're referring to. The other one I saw were another couple of greats, and that was Billy Joel and Elton John at that time, the Savvis Center. Man, I'll never forget that concert. Elton John's another one of those guys. Occasionally he'll peep about something political, but my goodness gracious, the guy is like immensely talented and basically keeps to himself, really. And Elton John was great because Elton John, he and Billy Joel doing the show together was so crazy wild. I'll never forget it. And they were both play with each other well, and they did great, and it was pretty amazing. And the opening act was Elton John, and he was doing "Funeral for a Friend." That was the one he opened with. Was "Funeral for a Friend." Pretty incredible. And then when he got done, it was like it actually was the opening song to the Yellow Brick Road thing. I say it's a double album. The Yellow Brick Road thing. So the concert starts. We're like, oh my goodness. So this is the opening song, Funeral for a Friend, on Yellow Brick Road. And we're all sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, Elton John is going to open up the concert with an 11-minute song? And everybody's like, yeah, man, he's going to do this. It's the first song of the whole concert, by the way. And we're like thinking, this is unbelievable. He comes out in his world famous coat, looks like a bathrobe. He's got his glasses on. And he's sitting there, and we're thinking, this is funeral for a friend opening a concert with Billy Joel. And it was unbelievable. And he went, and he went on and on and on and on and just rocking the hell out of this song. And then it keeps going. This is about 10 minutes into it or something, 8 minutes in. His voice is perfect. And we're all thinking, man, this is going to be the best next 2.5 hours, because Billy Joel's probably going to be fantastic too. And we're like, wow, man, it's going to be great. So what he does is he gets, let me get to the end here. So he gets to the end of the song, and then he rocks it out. And then once it's over, once it's done, he gets up. Everybody's like clapping, and it's a standing O, but he gets up and he basically says, see what I just did there, people? Because that's one great thing about Elton John is not only is he talented, but he absolutely like knows that he is. And so when he came out, when he finished the song, he was like, that was pretty badass, wasn't it? We're like, yeah, that was pretty badass, dude. Yes, sirree. I didn't intend to talk all that time about a concert, but for whatever reason, it just made sense. Well, it's a 3-martini lunch. You never know where it's going to go, right, people? All right, coming up, Rick Pogue, and man, you should have seen what happened last night, the Colbert Show. I don't know who's worse, Colbert or the people in his audience. That's all going to be coming up here on the Allman Report. Plus, we're going to check in on what's happening in Jefferson City with the opening of that brand new session and everything else. So you're going to be treated to some insight on that one, too. So Elton John decided he's just going to play that last part again for everybody. You see that? He's going to help that Allman bloke out because he still has like 40 seconds left. So Elton John's like, I can't stop a minute before the segment's supposed to end. So Elton comes in and says, I'm going to keep on going. All right, people, this is Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. You are absolutely in the right place.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Looking for excitement, fun, and delicious food for the whole family? Piccadilly Parwan has it all. Savor our scratch-made dishes. Nothing frozen. Every bite a true delight. Roll into fun at Piccadilly Palace for roller skating, or race your heart out at Piccadilly Kart Racing. Join us for happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 till 6. Free select appetizers and drink specials. And don't miss our mouth-watering Sunday family dinners. Piccadilly Parwan on Audrey Lane in Union, Missouri, or online at piccadillypar1.com.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, and Monocle's Pizza.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. President Trump has welcomed Poland's new president to the White House and said the U.S. is a strong ally.
We're with Poland all the way, and we will help Poland protect itself.
The president reassured the Polish leader that American troops will remain stationed in Poland, which neighbors Ukraine. The United States carried out a military strike against a Venezuelan vessel. White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
President Trump said it was a strike against a drug-carrying boat that departed from Venezuela.
And coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela, so we took it out.
Secretary of State Rubio said the vessel was being operated by a designated narco-terrorist organization, and he described the operation as a lethal strike. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A major U.S. adversary flexes its military muscle at a massive parade marking the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. The BBC's Frank Gardner is in Beijing.
From massive underwater torpedoes to state-of-the-art laser weapons that shoot down drones, China's latest military parade is being closely analyzed by Pentagon experts and defense officials around the world. China's People's Liberation Army, the PLA, has embarked on an extensive military modernization program that's seen it catching up and in some areas overtaking the United States. Hypersonic missiles that travel at more than 5 times the speed of sound is one area where it leads the world. But China has also been investing heavily in artificial intelligence and autonomous weapons.
Hawaii's Kilauea volcano has been repeatedly disgorging lava at its summit crater about once a week since late last year. On Tuesday, it began shooting lava into the air for the 32nd time since December. The lava not threatening any homes or buildings. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind, to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my 2 sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-226-5454. That's 800-226-5454. 800-226-5454.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Nice warm day today under partly cloudy skies. The high temperature in the mid 80s, about 86 degrees this afternoon. And then later this evening and into tonight, a good chance for some showers and thunderstorms across the area. Should be pretty widespread with most of us getting some rain, and some areas could pick up a half inch or more from some of the heavier showers or storms that roll into the area. Overnight lows tonight in the 60s, but the high tomorrow in the mid 70s under sunny skies. Going to be a beautiful day with mild temperatures and low humidity. I'm First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Parents want more choices rather than fewer when it comes to their children's education. And now some Missouri parents will have one more option to get their children the best education available. Low-income students and those with disabilities in Missouri's largest communities can now apply for an Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA. With an ESA, the money the state would normally pay to your child's public school goes into an account that you control. You can use the funds for private school tuition, online learning programs, a private tutor, or other approved uses. You can tailor your child's education. For too long, Missouri officials have operated on the mistaken notion that parents only need one choice. They're assigned public school based on their address. ESAs put parents in charge. It's school choice at its best, with money following the students to the place that best fits their needs. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. This Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey, are you ready to live a little even after your lovely, amazing retirement, right? Yeah, well, that's what you're expecting, right? You don't retire just to then go ahead and wind down and deteriorate. So you living 20, 30 years past your retirement, you need to know that you have an option with Gemini Wealth Group, the GeminiWealthGroup.com. Jeff Portman, who is ready for you, 314-888-0123. And so if you're about 55, I mean, heck, even 50, I know a lot of people who are retiring like when they're 55, God love you. But you need to start planning. Are you diversified enough? And I know Jeff Portman, never forget him saying this to me, that it's not about just pure diversification for diversification's sake. It's about making sure you're targeting, excuse me, the best possible stocks that are going to help you grow your portfolio, and it'll grow into your retirement. That's the way to do it. So Jeff's going to help you do this. His team will help you do that. You'll identify all the ways that you're going to need to pay attention to your outlay. So sometimes it's going to be a situation where you know you're going to have to pay some taxes on this, or you're going to have to be in a situation where you got to account for some healthcare costs, all these kind of things. Obviously, a mortgage or rent or whatever it happens to be, so you can enjoy those golden years. The Gemini Wealth Group is recognized throughout the country as a top-notch retirement expert team. The GeminiWealthGroup.com or Jeff Portman directly at 314-888-0123.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
When I think of heaven, never me in a black winged bird. I think of flying down in your sea of pins and feathers and all of the instruments of faith and sex.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Now, this is pretty crazy. This whole thing, you guys have, everybody's kind of you've beaten the Trump dead thing to death already, but it's so weird because everybody was panicking because Trump wasn't there, which is crazy because all the left-wing crazies and sickos couldn't live a day without Trump in their life. That's what this is all about. They had to, where's Donald Trump? We don't know where he is. And what's great about it is that in all likelihood, it's kind of like when, people who are in guerrilla warfare or anything don't know where the enemy is, that they're hiding because they're afraid the enemy's going to pop out of nowhere. It's kind of like Peter Sellers in the Pink Panther when he'd come into the house and he'd be wondering where Kato is. Kato? And then Kato would pop out of nowhere and start attacking him and fighting him and doing whatever. And so these people all freaked out about the fact that President Trump wasn't around so they could keep an eye on him. And that's how scared they are of him. And then they came up with these fantasies about Trump being dead. And then they thought, well, I know this next news conference, he's going to talk about his health. It's not. It's like about moving the space agency down to Huntsville, Alabama. So these people are just making fools of themselves. And they continued on with Stephen Colbert. This is what happened last night.
When I came back in the office, I was shocked to learn that this weekend, the biggest story was frenzied social media rumors speculating whether Donald Trump had died. For the record, Donald Trump is very much alive, okay? And no, we like our presidents alive. Donald Trump.
So anyway, that was a mention that was welcome from Stephen Colbert. But I will tell you, as we get into our trip down to Key West, Florida, and ladies and gentlemen, the great business guru for the Allman Report, Rick Pogue. Yes, indeed. So, Rick Pogue, I'm thinking to myself, because I saw on X and everybody else, they were all like, well, look, this audience, it's been indoctrinated and this and this and this. I said, that audience isn't indoctrinated. That audience created Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert didn't create that audience. And it's the same way with The View. I don't let the audience off the hook. They're awful people for booing the fact that Donald Trump isn't dead. And people have to, sooner they realize that these people are real people. They were not indoctrinated. That's who they are. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's who they are. The better off we're going to be when we realize who these people are and that they exist. How you doing, buddy?
Yes. Well, I'm doing well, buddy. A happy Wednesday from the great state of Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it goes both ways. I mean, we blame the media. The media is who they are. They lie to people, and we call them sheeple because that's what many of them are. They don't. We were just discussing this down here this morning. Literally, they don't educate themselves. They see something on MSNBC or CNN. They just believe it, and they knew that. The media outlets know that. But I agree. You know, if they don't educate themselves and they don't learn stuff on their own, then they are stupid people. But there are a lot of people just filled with hearts filled with hate like that. I mean, I couldn't stand Joe Biden, okay, but I would never cheer for him to be dead. You know, so I agree with you. It does go both ways, though. They learn what they learn, they believe what they believe, and it's just really disgusting. And I'm happy it's being more and more exposed as time goes on.
No doubt about it. I mean, what's really interesting is that, and before I do want to talk about Ron DeSantis in Florida, because I get the feeling, I mean, it seemed like Key West is really a really great place because it's not only a bunch of conservatives, it's just a bunch of people, just regular people. You see a few people exercising their political views, which is great. But at the same time, it's just like kind of everybody really kind of having fun with the USA and life down there. I mean, seriously.
Oh, yeah. No, big time. I mean, you talk about a melting pot, which the USA is. Key West is the ultimate melting pot. There's people here from all over. And you're right. I mean, you've got conservatives down there. You can wave a Trump flag down here. I can walk down Duval Street with wave and say a word. And that's, you've got the gay communities down here. You've got everybody from all over the world, all walks of life are down here. But people are respectful here. It's a whole different thing. It's the way it used to be, up in the higher 48. So
yeah.
Hopefully we can get back to that.
Well, and I noticed when I was down there too, it's not just a vacation vibe because everybody's happy on vacation, but there are a lot of people down there who live down there. So it's you're really kind of, aside from having a house and doing all that kind of stuff and being on vacation, you're also commingling with people who actually just live down there. I mean, this is their city, this is their town,
Very much so, very much so. And it really, and I'm glad you said something about that, but because people really do respect other people's political views down here. And I can't explain it other than there's more people that educate themselves and they're more, I guess they take the time to learn what's real and what's not real. But again, you don't have to agree with me politically. I'm going to respect you no matter what. If I disagree with everything you believe, I'm still going to respect you as a person. So, and it really is completely different here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So in the end, because now we're starting to, with the court knocking down these President Trump tariffs, and I do believe the Supreme Court is going to reaffirm the president's power and privilege to impose tariffs. We all know that Ronald Reagan did it totally unmolested by any federal court or anything of that nature. And this falls directly under the Commerce Clause and the ability of the federal government to regulate commerce. And so the idea of a Supreme Court putting the sole power only in the legislative branch, there's no way this court's going to do that. And I'm glad about it, although I still want to ask whether or not, because there are some people kind of now saying, well, we are seeing a little bit of an increase, whatever. So what's your take on that?
I agree with you. I think if it gets to the Supreme Court, they're going to overturn the ruling. I just think it's sickening that everybody knows that is that's an express power of the president. It's clear enough that the president can impose tariffs on other countries if he so chooses. I cannot see the Supreme Court agreeing with this ruling, even if it's 5-4. I see it being overturned.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's no way. I mean, I think you're going to have to. You're going to have to have a situation where I know people are saying, well, you realize the congressional legislative branch is the only one with power to tax. That's like, well, that might be true, but you have to understand that tariffs are more than just a tax. I mean, I know people keep on using that terminology. Well, they are a tax. They are a tax. There's a reason why they're called tariffs and not taxes, is because they're part of trade and commerce, and the president has the right to oversee that.
Yes, he does, and I hate that argument myself. Yes, they feel like a tax. Maybe doesn't mean they're a tax. Okay, tariff is a tariff. A tax is a tax. Plain and simple. Tariffs were, are separately explained and detailed as one of the powers the president has. Everybody knows it. It's just like everything else they do, Jamie. They just twist the verbiage and lie to the American people. And, unfortunately, there are a lot of judges who are bad people, frankly, and they take their personal beliefs into the courtroom, and that's how they make their rulings, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And they took the oath not to do that, and they do it anyways. So very, very frustrating. But I think he's going to come out in the end. I don't think he's as worried as we might think. Maybe a little more now, but I'm not concerned. I think he's going to be fine. I just don't see that. That would be a landmark type thing to take the power of the tariff away from the president.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was thinking about this morning as we had yet another federal judge decision, whatever, and I was thinking, I always think of myself as being relatively smart and being able to see tea leaves, but one thing I did not anticipate, and I'm sure others probably did, but one thing I did not anticipate was a President Trump victory, and then his worst enemies being all these low-level judges that are abusing their power and everything else. And I was like, well, I guess the good news is that there's going to be a lot determined by the Supreme Court. So these people better be careful what they wish for, because the Supreme Court may simply elevate the executive branch powers as opposed to neuter them.
Yes, I agree. The tariffs, for those who those listeners maybe who argue with your family or friends about this tariff versus tax thing, look at it this way. Here's the big difference you can explain to them. Taxes are imposed by the United States Congress on the American people. Tariffs are only, underlined only, imposed on foreign countries and foreign entities. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So the next time your liberal family member wants to argue with you and tell you it's a tax, okay, fine. It's a tax on other countries. It's not a tax on us. So that's a major difference, and they need to remember that.
Well, and they still though will say, yeah, but it's a tax on consumers, because it's like blah blah blah. I mean, honestly, stop trying to do these Olympian types of movements just to fit your disdain for Trump. It's like, it's not really that in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, man, have you ever been? I mean, you seem like a guy who's probably been to Huntsville, Alabama, or somewhere in that territory. Have you?
I have been through there, but it's been a long time. I don't remember much about it.
But you remember that rocket though, right? You see that right on the side of the highway. There's like a rocket park. It's a real life.
I don't. No.
Oh, okay. It's a real life rocket there, and that was the coolest move. And I to move that space complex down to Huntsville, Alabama, because they absolutely deserve it, being in the cradle of the early days of space exploration and development. And they got a great museum down there and everything else. And I love the fact that President Trump admitted that he took it away from Colorado because they had mail-in voting. I thought that was like the most awesome thing that he actually just admitted that.
Yep. And every time, well, we have literally the most transparent president you'll ever see, most likely. But everything he does for the right reasons, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's truly amazing. You and I discuss this virtually every time we're on the phone, but this man never rests. Look what he has done in the first 8 months now, almost 8 months, since he's been in office. You know, what's in store just between now and the midterms. You know, every day the man is doing landmark things to make this country stronger and better, make us freer, make us richer. All of us, not some of us, all of us. And it's just, thank God we don't have President Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. So you're down there with Peepaw and your son, right? You down there?
Yep. My oldest boy Ricky's here with me.
Oh, nice.
He's bigger than me. I'm a little jealous of that, but because I'm pretty big and I don't like people get bigger than me. But yeah, down here with our neighbor as well, good friend Dave, and Jimlo was supposed to go on this trip, and he couldn't make it. He had some work stuff he couldn't get away from, and I feel bad. I'm his boss, but I tried to get him to come down there. But yeah, we're having a great time. We're actually taking the boat out, which you're familiar with. We're going to take that out tonight and tomorrow if we can. It's raining right now.
That beautiful boat, buddy. I love it so much. And how's the hideout going, brother? Thanks for your support of the show.
Oh, very, very welcome. Hideout's going well. I should know, but I can't remember who's playing this weekend. But again, the experience at the hideout that people need to have themselves, the patio. You know, we got a band out back in the Sunset Patio's open. You have to come experience that yourself. Watch the sun go down.
Yeah.
Our food is second to none. The vibes there are just off the charts, and we're very proud of what we built there.
Right on. Lunch and dinner served 7 days a week, and they've got the full-on dinners if that's what you want, but they've also got things you can pick on and just kind of do, like pizzas and things like that and wings, and so it's a fun time, and appreciate your support of the News Talk STL and the show, brother. So you guys have fun down there.
Thank you, brother. My pleasure. Love you very much. Thank you.
Love you too. Say hi to everybody for me, okay?
Will do.
All right, brother. I will. We're going to check in with Tim Jones of the Tim Jones and Christopher Arp Show here in just a few. He's down actually in Dallas on something I want to ask him about, on a mission I want to ask him about still, but I want to ask him about the special legislative session beginning. So we'll talk about that too. It's Common Sense Radio. You're in the right place. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Window world people. I'm telling you what, they are just rock stars in the replacement window category. And they are simply the best for less. 314-993-1800. Sorry, I'm still running through this cold. It's like I wish it would go away, but it's going away. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's going away. The preferred window of the St. Louis Blues, and let me tell you something else. It's such a great window that even Window World's like, it's such a great window. You're right, Allman, that we're backing this up with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. So you really can't go wrong investing in the Window World window. It's a double pane window. It looks absolutely beautiful from the inside of your home, as well as when you drive up the driveway looking at your badass home with the Window World windows on them. the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and you've got the absolute wonderment of the these people who do remodeling. So it's the Qualified Remodeler magazine saying, man, you guys, they sell the most windows of anybody, well, in the world. And that is fabulous. Window World is, again, a favorite window of the St. Louis Blues. We all know that season's coming up, and we can't wait for a team that we could, it's going to be trying harder, and that's going to be great. And so they're on to a good ship there with the Blues. Get a free estimate. They'll come to your house. They'll stand on the window for you to prove how strong it is. They'll come to your house, free estimate, and they also have great financing plans for you as well. Window World, the best for less. 314-993-1800.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Dove season is here. Deer season right around the corner. Hunters, get your supplies and your gear from the experts at Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy. Waders, ammo, decoys, they've got the quality you expect from a family that lives the hunting lifestyle themselves. That's whistlepigoutdoors.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Keep on trucking, baby. I got to keep on trucking. Got to get the
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. That's right. Yeah. Hey, Tim Jones, brother Tim, of the Tim Jones and the Christopher Arp Show here, 4 o'clock every day on News Talk STL, is in Dallas right now for a special event, but also monitoring the activities going on in Jefferson City. Tim Jones, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, good afternoon, Jamie. Thanks for having me today. And things are definitely rocking and rolling down here in the Big D, Jamie, as they always are in the Lone Star State.
Dallas is a great town, man. I love it.
It is. Jamie, I was listening to your last couple segments. Rick Pogue always does a great job.
Yeah.
And he so hits the sweet spot of what I think that Joe and Jane American, the majority of our country, of whatever shape, size, color, creed, code, hardworking Americans who run a plethora of small businesses. I really think he is emblematic. I think he represents the majority. Sometimes it's a silent majority, but I think he represents the majority on that. And another point, Jamie, you were making, Jamie, what are all these delusional Trump haters, the never Trumpers? Jamie, what are they going to do in 2036 after Donald Trump finishes his 4th term? I mean, what are they going to do then?
I know. I love it so much. It was so funny how, they were dealing with a guy. They were propping up a guy who disappeared on a regular basis. And when he was there, he basically acted like he was a cadaver anyway. This is like grandma in the rocking chair in the movie Psycho up in the attic. And President Trump disappears for like 2 days and they all freak out. It's like a mixture of they miss him because otherwise they don't have anything to talk about.
Right.
Or complain about. And also, I think it's also a point where maybe they just always want to know where he is because they're afraid of him, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the struggle is real with these people,
Yeah.
Jamie. I mean, it really is. I almost feel sorry for them if I didn't think they were trying to destroy the country every single day. And he didn't even disappear. A friend of mine, Jamie, who works for the Daily Caller, she was actually doing an interview with him, a print interview during this, mysterious 3 days that he wasn't, the reporters couldn't slobber over him in the Rose Garden. I mean, so he was just doing can he not do other things? He's the leader of the free world, for the love of God.
Yeah, I know. Like he's not working hard enough or something for the left. That's crazy. So now you're down at the Freedom Caucus Summit, right? So This is a big deal, a second annual.
Yes, Jamie. So, we've had the U.S. House Freedom Caucus for, my goodness, I think approaching, it's in its second decade. I don't know if it's in year 15 or 16, but it's well into its second decade. Of course, Missourians like Congressman Eric Burleson are proud Freedom Caucus members. You got Chip Roy and Andy Biggs and Jim Jordan. And, before them, the founders were Ron DeSantis, who's actually going to be making an appearance here, Mark Meadows, folks like that. And so we had this group in D.C. trying to do everything it could to drain the swamp before Donald Trump coined the term, the Trumpers before Donald Trump. And he's taken the Freedom Caucus and elevated it to a different level. And a number of years ago, James, about 4 or 5 years ago, the folks in D.C. were like, why should we just be doing this here? We need to be doing this in state capitals because they're just as swampy. They're the little swamps.
Yeah, right.
They're the backwater swamps out in the 50 states, even the red states like Missouri, Jamie. As majorities become super majorities, like we've seen here in Missouri, they tend oftentimes, more than not, unfortunately, to get fat, happy, and lazy. They become the establishment. They become the uniparty. They stop wanting to do what Republicans do best. From Reagan to Trump, the best Republican presidents and the best Republican governors have always been reformers of government. So the State Freedom Caucus, Jamie, was literally born out of the U.S. House Freedom Caucus. It incubated at the Conservative Partnership Institute, which is run by Senator Jim DeMint, who many believe was the grandfather of the Tea Party. Mark Meadows is at CPI, and they tapped a guy named Andy Roth, who is a very good friend of mine who was running the Club for Growth Foundation. They said, Andy, we know you got this great job at Club for Growth, but we want you to start a brand new organization. What could go wrong? I want you to leave everything and start this thing out of nothing. And Andy said, absolutely, because he's a good Midwestern boy. He's from Kansas. We don't hold that against him. And he launched the State Freedom Caucus Network with a fella named Justin Ouimet, who was the executive director of the House Freedom Caucus. So these guys knew what they were doing from day one, but they needed help from the states. They needed to find the right conservative groups. And I'm very proud that Missouri was one of the first 10 that were chosen in those early years. Jamie, now we're up to 13 states, and we even have Freedom Caucuses in blue states. There's a very proud and loud Freedom Caucus in Illinois right next door. Many of their members pop in on our station from time to time. Their state director is a great young man, Colin Mosley. He's going to be here with me. They have a Freedom Caucus in Maryland. And then, of course, they have Freedom Caucuses in red states like Missouri and Oklahoma and Idaho and Montana, South Carolina, Georgia. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
And Jamie, the whole point is to be the true North Star and the conservative conscience of Republican majorities and supermajorities so they don't lose their way. Or if they have lost their way, like I believe they have here in Missouri over the last few years, to put them back on course. And my goodness, Jamie, haven't Nick Schroer and Justin Sparks, the chairman and vice chairman of the Freedom Caucus, been doing just that?
Yeah, and this is the great thing about the Freedom Caucuses, Tim Jones, is that, and this is really so hugely needed as we go into the future. I've been talking about this for a long time. The remnants of the Rhino Republicans, the ones who either, if they weren't actively anti-Trump, they were actively on the sidelines and not even helping him in any way, shape, or form. They're still creeping around at the state level and at the national level. So I'm so glad that you guys, instead of thinking that the job was done when President Trump was reelected in 2025, think purely that the job is not finished and won't be until we head into the next 3 presidencies, presidential elections and midterms and everything else, because we can't let these people who are just kind of like Some of them you might think, well, we're just going to wait until President Trump leaves office. Then we'll move in, we'll massage Vance a little bit, and we'll return this party to, just a mixture of people as opposed to just a MAGA. And that's not tolerable.
Not at all. Jamie, the Freedom Caucus is supposed to be two things, right? It's supposed to be a pipeline of creating legislators for tomorrow who can go to D.C. and help continue to drain the swamp and turn things around and make sure that Donald Trump's America First movement is not a fad, that it wasn't something that the establishment can just wait out, but this is the new Republican Party. It's very Reagan-esque, and it's also very Trumpian. These are things that, we shouldn't have had to wait from Reagan to Trump to get back to this. Thankfully, Trump has made this happen. And secondly, it's to be a pipeline from D.C. to the states, right? So great state leaders can implement so many of these things that Donald Trump is offering, right? Donald Trump knows change is so slow in Washington, D.C. It's like it takes an eternity to get anything done, but we can move much faster, much quicker, and implement the Trump agenda here on the state level with the tools and the policy priorities that Donald Trump has given us. And we are so blessed here in Missouri because the reason that I believe we're at this point right now, where Governor Kehoe called this special session to do two things, congressional redistricting and to finally solve this bane of our existence that the left and these so-called rent-a-Republican consultants use to enrich themselves, this ridiculous initiative petition process that has been nothing more than a hijacking of Missouri's Constitution. The reason we're able to do that is because we have Missourians like Will Scharf and Alex Meyer, who is running the Intergovernmental Affairs Department. That was kind of a sleepy old department. Donald Trump has made the Intergovernmental Affairs Department a powerful entity in Washington, D.C. And Alex Meyer and his team are literally bringing every single state to the nation's capital, to the White House grounds, and meeting with them every single week. Missouri was blessed. We were one of the first 3 states to get the invite, of course. And now that we've got that line of communication established, Nick Schroer and the members of the Freedom Caucus have been speaking directly with the White House for the past 2 months in preparation for this special session. Yes, Governor Kehoe has been in contact, of course, with the White House as well. But Donald Trump knows, and Will Scharf knows, and Alex Meyer knows, the White House knows that their best, most reliable, most loyal friends are in the Missouri Freedom Caucus. And we're going to hold everybody accountable for this. And that's why we were the first ones to issue a press release. And words are one thing, but we were demanding action. And guess what happened, Jamie? That action is now being implemented. The special session has been called. And we have congressional redistricting bills that will be a bill that will be filed today and be heard tomorrow. The same with IP reform. Now, it's not done yet. And I don't trust the establishment. And I don't trust the Rhino Republicans in Jeff City. And neither does any member of the Freedom Caucus or our conservative allies. So we're not going to do a victory lap until the ink is dry on both bills and they have gone to the governor's desk. The redistricting will go to the governor's desk and the initiative petition reform will go to the voters next year for them to hopefully decide once and for all that Missouri's Constitution shouldn't just be the playground of out-of-state and out-of-country left-wing billionaires.
So what do you think happened? I mean, a lot of people were confused, but it doesn't seem when you read into the story that it's all that confusing after all. When Governor Kehoe rescinded the nominations of these individuals to the police board, it turns out this was just simply something he needed to do, he said, because he didn't want to distract these people during the legislative session. Is there anything more to it, or is it just what it is?
Jamie, I'm going to take the governor at his word on that because, Mike Kehoe and I have known each other a long time, and I would say that he and I trust each other on certain issues and probably don't trust each other on other issues. I trust Mike Kehoe immensely when it comes to law and order, okay, and crime and punishment. And that was exemplified by the fact that Governor Kehoe made restoring safety, security, and sanity to the city of St. Louis and to our region writ large one of his top priorities. And he worked directly with the Freedom Caucus. Nick Schroer got that bill across the finish line in the Senate over the filibuster of the Democrats. He didn't even need to PQ. He didn't even need to end debate on that. Nick skillfully maneuvered that bill through the Senate, and even in the end got bipartisan support on that. So that was a perfect example of where somebody like Governor Kehoe, who, we all should trust but verify his conservative credentials, That's where we can work with him, with the Freedom Caucus, with the conservative allies on both chambers to effectuate change, which we did with that. So, Jamie, I think I'm going to take the governor at his word on this. I think this was a procedural matter, and he intends to, after the special session is over, my understanding is he's going to reappoint the same people. And I've heard nothing negative about these folks. I need to look into them a little bit more and check out their bios and their backgrounds, but I've heard nothing negative. So he will reappoint them after the special session is over. And then when the legislature comes back for its regular session, just a few short months from now, they'll have a full hearing and a full confirmation consideration in the Senate. So I think the headline was a lot more salacious than the materiality of the matter.
Well, because I mean, I guess the question would be is why wouldn't you just simply put off the confirmations and retain the nominations? You know what I mean? Instead of rescinding them.
Yeah, he had to appoint them, otherwise he would have lost the power to. And then with the special session intervening, I agree with him. Let's not muddy the waters with any unnecessary distractions. And so that's why he's rescinding and will reappoint after the session. I know this is all very tedious sounding, but it's procedural mumbo jumbo, but I don't think there's anything nefarious about it at all.
Okay. And you're an attorney, and you're also friends with a bunch of folks over at Newsmax. And today, Newsmax filed in federal court a suit against Fox News. I know you've been traveling. You might not be really familiar about it. With it, but you might have heard some rumblings about it. And
I did.
And the fact of the matter is, I mean, they're filing an antitrust lawsuit. And as close as I've been to a lot of business activities and even marketing and that kind of thing, I wonder whether I'm thinking that they probably think they have a good case. But part of me says, well, I'm not quite sure this is any different than what Campbell's Soup, Coca-Cola, and Anheuser-Busch do to their competitors, but there might be something more to it.
Well, and Jamie, let's remember that in everything involving, public policy or public matters, there's always personality involved as well. And everybody should understand that in the media giant world, all these folks know each other, right?
Yeah.
Newsmax. So Newsmax CEO Christopher Ruddy, who's a great guy who was with us on our Israel trip with Chris and I the whole time. He's a former reporter for the New York Post, which was owned by Rupert Murdoch, the media magnate who created Fox News. So all these folks know each other. Now, Newsmax has filed an antitrust lawsuit, and their allegation is that the media giant known as Fox News has abused its monopoly power to suppress other right-leaning competitors. Now, that's their argument. I don't know enough about the facts of this case or the specifics of antitrust litigation to make any further statement beyond that, but that's what they're alleging, okay? Fox shot back at Newsmax today that they, quote, cannot sue their way out of their own competitive failures in the marketplace. So that seems pretty Pollyannish to me. I don't think anybody would think Newsmax is a failure. I mean, they're kind of the second big elephant in the room. So
yeah, they're growing.
Jamie, Jamie, the argument is that Fox did certain things with its market stake to abuse that power. Whether they did or not, well, Jamie, that's going to be up for our wonderful judicial system to sort out and figure out as the litigation proceeds.
Yeah, because, in order to have other, in some streaming elements, other conservative voices, those services had to also then take some of the lesser products of Fox, like Fox Business and Fox Sports, whatever. And it upped the fees and made it really impossible. So what happened is these people wouldn't do it because they didn't want to have to pay the fees for the Fox Business and the Fox Sports, and so they just would give up and not do it. And that's where I think some degree of regulatory nefariousness
oversight
was going on. And I think at some point, even if it's not an antitrust issue, it almost certainly is an FCC issue. So
right, and Jamie, people may be wondering, well, how did Fox do? How did it allegedly do this, that, or the other thing? Well, everybody needs to understand the media world, the national media world, is an extremely complex ecosystem, right? And so it's full of different tiers, right? You have the content providers, then you have the distributors, then you have all the subsidiaries, Then you have all of the different agencies all across the country, right? From the local news affiliates to the regional to the national. So it's all done through contractual obligations. So Newsmax is alleging that in creating these contracts that Fox blocked out competitors unfairly.
Yeah.
Now, whether they did or not, I don't know. I'm not saying they did or they didn't. I'm just letting folks know what the allegations are at this point at the outset of the litigation.
Well, and I mean, basically, it's not, I don't think it's dissimilar. I think there are parts of this that probably won't stick, and there are other parts that might just stick. But, you go into a Schnucks, and there's a reason why you can find a Coca-Cola product easier than a Pepsi product. There's a reason why you can find Lay's potato chips quicker than you can find some other potato chips, because usually these guys go in there and they say, hey, we want to sell our product in here, but our competitors have to either be over there or not at the front, or, that kind of thing. So a lot of this does happen in the world of marketing and things like that. So we'll see how it turns out. But I think you're absolutely right about Fox's thing about how they're not competitive is baloney, because Newsmax's profile has only increased over the past year, where I think Fox's has deservedly decreased, considering all of the snakes they have, especially during the day there. But their night shift is the one paying the bills over there. We all know that.
That's right.
So
that's right.
We'll see how it goes.
I like their Fox Business product. I think
I do
Larry
too.
Kudlow is fantastic. Yeah. And Newsmax is awesome. It's got a lot of Fox alumni on it.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
And Jamie, your analogy to the grocery store is perfect and spot on, because that is a bloodbath of a battleground. We the consumer don't see it, but that's a bloodbath battleground every day as well. Jamie, ultimately, who's going to win in this? Who's ultimately going to win? The antitrust lawyers on both sides in New York, who are making $2,000 an hour on these cases.
Yeah. And that's why I'd say Newsmax, hey, you know what? I would just buy another light for the studio instead of paying lawyers. You know what I mean? Just to make it, just to smarten it up a little bit, or somebody to do makeup for people, that kind of thing. But otherwise, I think it's good. But I think it's good because I think it's interesting, because on the one hand, it's fun to watch because it just shows that Newsmax is getting a little scrappy, which is great, on all levels, because they're getting a little they're kind of like the new dog in town, and they're starting to nip at the heels of the old dog, and I like that. It's kind of like what we do at News Talk, right?
That's right, exactly. And you know what, Jamie? It keeps everyone honest on the center right side of the political spectrum. We're not all, we're not a homogenous crew on the right side of the political spectrum, right? So we all got to keep each other honest, and we all got to keep each other on our toes.
Right
Indeed.
on. Well, man, have fun down there in Dallas. Thank you so much for the correspondence here, brother. Appreciate it always. It's great to talk to you. You and Christopher Arps have an amazing show, so we'll be there at 4 for you, as we always are here on News Talk STL. So thanks, Tim Jones.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Yeah, I'll be joining Chris and Joey. I'll be zooming in remotely, just like I'm doing with you right now. And folks can listen to some of the color and the flavor down here in Big D the next few days.
Right on. Always enjoy it, brother. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
All right, that is Tim Jones. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That suit ought to be interesting. At the very least, it's going to be fun to watch, right? For those of us who like underdogs, right? Especially underdogs that know what they're doing, right? Right. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
Also, I'm excited because I'm going to be seeing Brother Rodney Wallner in just a little bit after, in fact, I get off the air, because we're going to go down and we're going to help a guy sell his property. That's what we're going to do together, because we're working on this project together. And let me tell you something. There's nobody better at getting your property sold, homes, whatever it happens to be, than the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. So impressed by these guys, I joined them. as a real estate agent. Most of the time, I represent buyers. So later on today, I'm showing somebody $1 million home. And that's what I'm going to be doing later on after I meet with Rodney Wallner. So my day is filled with helping people not only sell their property, but also buy their property. And nobody does it better than the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD. You can ask for me, or if it's not me, you get any other member of our talented team. When you go ahead and list your property with the Wallner home selling team, that means your property automatically is in a bidding war. So we do all the drone shots and we dress it up nicely. We make it work. We get it priced just right for you. And then we let people fight over it. And that's how it goes. And you get the best price. You get the lowest commission, all that other mother jazz. On top of that, as a buyer's agent, I love just kind of being there for, during, after the sale. I've got a client who bought a home. We haven't closed on it yet, but hooked her up with the guys over at the O'Fallon Family Floors because she's going to get a flooring bid done there and all kinds of things. And so I'm always with her to get things going for her before, during, after the sale. That's the great thing about when we're a buyer's agent. We're there for you, well, really, for life. This is the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. 314-810-SOLD.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Is your backyard a battleground every evening? Swatting, itching, kids running back inside? Hey, Tim Jones here. I just found out about a new local company, Mosquito Nix, that can take care of all that and more. They offer permanent automatic mosquito and tick protection, not just fogging, real coverage you don't have to think about. They've helped over 40,000 families nationwide take back their yards with their automatic mosquito control system. Now they're offering a free fogging treatment to introduce themselves to St. Louis families. Call 636-698-1980 now or visit mosquitonix.com. Say goodbye to bug bites this summer. Service area restrictions do apply. Tell them Tim Jones sent you. Ask about their back-to-school special. St. Louis summers don't last forever, but mosquito bites shouldn't either. Call 636-698-1980. Visit mosquitonix.com. That's mosquitonix.com. This is a limited time offer.
Man, nothing affects your life more in many ways than the quality of your sleep. So you have a better sleep, you have a better life. It's that simple. Dragging during the day, not being productive, getting fatter because you're not sleeping. And so your metabolism is slowing down because it's got to kind of keep your body alive somehow. And so if you are in a situation where you have sleep apnea, which is snoring, first of all, it's so disruptive to the rest of the family. And if it gets to a point where you're actually sleeping in separate bedrooms, all that kind of stuff, that's not productive for your family life anyway. So Dr. Joe Ogile of the Clayton Sleep Institute has a great deal for you, and that is to make sure that you have take-home apparatus. If that's what you need, just consult with them for a short period of time, or you can go ahead and subject yourself, which is a comfortable way of subjecting yourself, to the sleep clinics. So you're sleeping in a boutique hotel room almost. They're monitoring your sleep throughout the entire evening. You got somebody up with you all night long while you're sleeping, and they'll figure out what's going on, and they'll figure out ways to help you out. Insomnia, restless leg syndrome. Sometimes it's a situation where you have grandkids or kids that can't get to sleep. Well, Dr. Ogile and his team, they're experts in pediatric sleep problems as well. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of a guy who's a friend of mine and a 20-year supporter of the Allman brand. It's the Clayton Sleep Institute. Check it out on the web, claytonsleep.com, claytonsleep.com. Better sleep, better life.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
After Labor Day shootings in Chicago, Trump says, I'm ready to go in and bring law and order.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Good evening, afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Man, I'm sick of this. Whatever it is I have. I had always thought summer colds were always COVID anyway, and part of it is I'm a little stubborn because I hate taking medicine. I don't like the way it makes me feel, so that's idiotic. So I finally did it, but I took only one of the two pills. I just did it half, which probably isn't the right way to do it either. So I'll see how this goes. We'll see. So anyway, things are getting better, but we'll figure it out. I know a lot of people in the same situation. Speaking of that, this really caught my attention. So you do realize that for a long time, we were told that the only way that we could stay out of COVID hell was if we took the vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, whatever the rest of the vaccine deal was. These people made millions of dollars off of all this. And that's why I'm looking forward to seeing how Dr. Fauci made out here in terms of his riches and his wealth. Never forget seeing him at a news conference. It's like, I think there's a company called, let me see, Moderna? Like he didn't know what the hell Moderna was. My goodness gracious. Anyway, according to a new report in JAMA Internal Medicine, JMA, and that's a pretty well-regarded publication, peer-reviewed, everything else. This study found out a cheap, decades-old nasal spray called azolastine may do what the vaccines are supposed to do. So they did this study, and it shows that if you take this, it's a $10 bottle of this over-the-counter nasal spray used for seasonal allergies usually, but it's also, according to this peer-reviewed study, blocking infections, which is supposedly what the vaccines are supposed to do. And this took place in Germany, a phase 2 double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial, 450 adults between March 23 and 2024. All participants were tested for COVID twice per week for nearly 2 months. Infections in the placebo group, 15 out of 223 people caught COVID. Infections in the azoltine group, 5 out of 227 people got infected. So the placebo people who weren't just doing anything caught at the rate of 15 out of 223, 6.7%. Infections for the people who were doing azoltine were wound up being 2.2%. So the indications are that whatever this thing is, this nasal spray, could be, in fact, effective in stopping COVID infections just as much as any supposed vaccine would be, if not better. Pretty crazy, huh? But learn something new every day. This whole COVID thing was such a big lie. I think we ought to set up another alligator Alcatraz for the people responsible for all the lies. Anyway, Tony Colombo and Company on the way. Ashlyn, thank you so much. You guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This is Common Sense Radio.
Dr. Randy Tobler here, and I know that when you're looking for a dentist, you have to make sure you choose a dental practice that's compatible with you and the needs of your family. Well, I'd like to tell you about my dentist, Dr. Dan Cusimano, and his partner, Megan Dwyer, and their team at Advanced Dentistry at St. Charles. The great team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles can accommodate all of your cosmetic and restorative needs because their passion is general dentistry. Implants, crowns, bridges,